Ahead of her blockbuster clash with Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina dials up a friend, former coach of 5 years, Stefano Vukov. But the only problem is he's currently suspended by the WTA. Ouch. This video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use, the Fair Dealing, and the Digital Millennium Act. I'm on record saying Stefano is the best coach when it comes to in-match adjustments, without a doubt. I've seen him problem-solve Elena Rybakina through the toughest of situations. Not having him as her coach, I've noticed a dip in her level. That's right, guys. 3 days before the U.S. Open was to begin in 24, she announced a split from Stefano, left the tennis world going crazy. That would lead to the WTA issuing a provisional suspension against Stefano, citing potential breach of the WTA Code of Conduct. Now, listen, guys, I'm not going to get into the details. It's an ongoing investigation, and I think too much speculation right now would just be completely unprofessional. However, not if you're Pam Shriver, ladies and gentlemen. She issued a statement, and it's brutal. She said it's time for our sport to stand up and fight back against abuse and well-known cult-like manipulation against our players. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Now, at one point, Elena Rybakina said there will be a time to talk and discuss the issues, but now's not the time. So when will the time be? Now, the question is, will Stefano be able to coach Elena Rybakina for this upcoming Australian Open? The WTA plans to issue a decision by then. But what about Goran? Goran Ivanisevic, ladies and gentlemen, one of the better ATP players no one talks about. 22 championships, Wimbledon champion in 2001, multiple bronze Olympic medalists, former ranked number 2, ladies and gentlemen, a great grass coach, and Elena Rybakina is amazing on grass. He's her current head coach, so what role will Stefano have when he comes back? Will it be an advisor? Now, in case you're wondering how the provisional suspension works, Stefano's not able to join Elena Rybakina on the practice courts or player boxes. But it's been reported that he recently flew in from, I want to say Dubai, Saudi Arabia, to join Elena Rybakina in Australia. So, I mean, of course, look, she can give him tickets. He can watch the match. He just can't be in her player box. So I would imagine he's going to be helping her with pointers, but isn't that, I don't know where Ivanisevic is going to stand. How's he going to feel about this? So there's a lot going on here. I could possibly see a coaching change, switching back to Stefano later in the year, depending on the outcome of this investigation. But again, Stefano did release a statement. All right, he denies any violation in terms of the code of conduct. And of course, if Elena Rybakina, if this involves him, which it certainly does, you know, him and her, then if she backs him, this could possibly just go away and get swept under the rug. But again, while this provisional suspension is underway, he's unable to obtain any coaching credentials. Right, so this is pretty deep stuff here, guys. But I've said he's on the record denying any of these allegations. And listen, guys, their history together, it's unmatched. I mean, we're talking about double-digit championships if we include the lower level, SW19 title. His coaching has led her through many tough situations, and I've documented this. I've said he's the best coach when it comes to in-match adjustments, but we've also seen them go back and forth with heated exchanges. We go back to the 23 Australian Open. We've seen times where Elena Rybakina, let's go back to Miami a couple years ago, where she told him to shut up. I mean, who's really the boss here, ladies and gentlemen? He shut up, and she's been vocal during matches several times when it comes to telling him what he needs to do. So it's going to be interesting, guys. But ahead of the clash with Iga Swiatek, I've talked about Rybakina's level since the split. And I don't think her level has been that great. But again, she hasn't been that active. But look, she's won 6 of her last 10 matches. And of course, that includes some matches at the World Tennis League, you know, with a completely different format, some one-set matches. But Overall, I mean, looking back at her last couple matches here at the United Cup, she's undefeated this year with Evan Isavic, which is great. But the reality here is I noticed a little bit drop in her level. She's given up 6 breakpoint opportunities her last match, her last 2 matches, which isn't bad, you know. But I do think overall her first serve metrics hasn't been that great. Last time out against Laura Sigmund, who, look, she's an older player. She's not a great defender. She can close out at the net, but she doesn't have the power to keep opponents off of her. So I think that was pretty much a cakewalk for Elena Rybakina, where she dished out 6 aces. She won 79% of her first serves. But overall, when she's at her peak, she's going to be in the 80 percentile range. Now, coming up with this blockbuster clash with Iga Swiatek, who, by the way, I've said in the past, I think Elena Rybakina is Iga's kryptonite. You know, if we go back to even the lower level, we include, you know, some of these other exhibitions. Elena Rybakina has beat Iga Swiatek 7 times. That's a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen. And in my personal opinion, I think it's the pace that Elena Rybakina plays with in terms of her forehand ball, her ground strokes, the range. I think it's the serve. I think it's an entire package that frustrates Iga Swiatek to where she's behind the baseline. I say it a lot. Elena Rybakina's bounce coming off of that baseline. She's extending opponents 6 to 8 feet behind that baseline, and they just don't have a chance. I mean, go back to clay season a couple years ago, where Iga Swiatek got injured trying to defend those deep balls. That's a reoccurring theme. And then we saw Iga Swiatek bulk up. And I'm like, she's bulking up for Elena Rybakina. She's trying to, and she ended up adding 7 miles per hour on her forehands, on her forehand speed. And I said, that's for Elena Rybakina. That is to defeat Elena Rybakina, who's just dominated Iga Swiatek over the course of their careers. I feel Elena is Iga's kryptonite. Now, bringing on Stefano ahead of this matchup, in my personal opinion, I think it's a strategic move. I really do. I think this is a very important, this is a big stage for Elena. If she defeats Iga and Team Poland, right? And of course, there's a lot at play here. We have the ATP match, we have the mixed doubles match. So, but this is a very important match. If she can get Kazakhstan into the championship, that's huge. It's a huge win. So I think Stefano was brought on to help this situation. But let's take a look at Iga Swiatek, guys. I want to talk Iga a little bit, who quietly is on a 9-match win streak, including the World Tennis League. That's right, guys. I mean, if we go back, we can go back to Saudi Arabia, where she beat Dasha, right? She dominated Dasha. Or even the World Tennis League, right? Paula Badosa, Lena Noskova, Polini. You know, we go back to the Billie Jean King Cup. World Tennis League combined with the United Cup. She's beat Polini, Rybakina. She's beat Helgo, Mukova. She's beat Katie Bolter last time out. But I am concerned a little bit. On the 9-match win streak, Iga's lost 4 sets to players she probably shouldn't have. You know what I mean? So I do think there's been a dip in both of these ladies' level overall for whatever reason. Again, it's early in the season. They've had time off. There's been controversy. And again, when your name is in the press and the media for not good reasons, right? Both of these ladies are surrounded by investigations, or Iga's investigation has concluded, but both of them have been the last several months. It can affect your play. And I think right now we're seeing that as a result of the dip or decline in their games. I think it's the controversy. But in terms of Iga, one thing that concerns me here at the United Cup is, especially her last couple matches, she's averaging, she's giving her opponents a lot of breakpoint opportunities. We're talking about basically 7 breakpoint opportunities her last couple matches. I think that's a little bit too much. While her first serve, for the most part, she's only winning about 65% of them, which, yeah, I talked about historically at the slams and the big events. Iga only wins about 59% of her first serves in terms of, I'm sorry, not first serves, but in terms of getting her first serves in play, she only gets about 59% of her first serves in play at the slams and major events, especially in particularly the Australian Open, where Iga Swiatek recently talked about how tough it is to really be at your best with these conditions. It's hot, it's humid, there's always heat waves and advisories. And I agree with that. She said her goal going into the Australian Open is to really get rest ahead of time and really control the things that she can control. Because, again, I agree 100% with Iga. It's very difficult to play in these hot summers in Melbourne. But in terms of her first serves won, she's winning about 65% of them here at the United Cup. She is getting a better average historically in terms of her first serves in play in contrast to the slam. She's at about 67, 68% of her first serves in play, which I think that's good. But last time out, losing nearly 60% of her second serves, I think that's a bit too much. That's a very bad number. But yes, Katie Boulter is phenomenal, and Iga had to come back down a set. And again, she's dropping a lot of sets lately. Like I said, of her last 9 matches, she's dropped 4 sets. And yes, that spans over, several tournaments, but we're not seeing that dominant Iga that we've been used to seeing. So that's a little bit concerning. But she's going to be taking on Elena Rybakina, and this is a hard court. So, I do think each player is going to have their advantages and their strengths. Elena Rybakina, we all know she's a Wimbledon champion. That run with Stefano at the 22 SW19 championships was simply amazing, right? She beat Coco, not little Coco, big Coco. First set tiebreak. That was an amazing match. BB in the next round, another tiebreak. Kenwin in the third round, another tiebreak, right? Her first 3 matches, she saw tiebreaks, but then it's like things got on cruise control, where she took out Petra Martic, Isla Tomljanovic went 3. She took out Simona, and then she came back down a set to Ons to win the championship in 3. Now, she said in the past on record she doesn't feel like a slam champion, but you are Elena Rybakina. You're big time. And ahead of this matchup with Iga Swiatek, who do you guys think is going to take this matchup? Again, as we talk about the head-to-head, every time they've played, whether on the main tour or not, I just feel Elena Rybakina has been in a position to win sets. And even the matches she lost, she's been pretty close and consistent with her game plan. Now, we've heard Elena Rybakina on record in reference to Iga Swiatek stating, it doesn't matter what surface we play on. She feels she's the better player. We're going to see, guys. Get your popcorn. But again, comment below. What do you think about Stefano? Listen, if Elena Rybakina is announcing that he's going to be back in her camp, I think this investigation is probably just going to be swept under the rug. If she is backing him and the alleged conduct is involving her, there's really nothing you can do, guys. Tennis in a minute. And I'm not going to speculate because I look, it's all speculation. No one's in the camp. No one knows. If she's backing him, I think it speaks for itself. Comment below, guys. Tennis in a minute. Who you got? Iga or Elena? I'm going to have to go with the giant from Kazakhstan.